pull up a seat at the gaming round table. I am the Juice Man as always. Yes, I know I haven't been starting out the video with music lately, but you know, sometimes I get a little fearful of copyright strikes and things like that, even though I'm a nothing kind of 10 subscriber YouTuber. But they do watch that stuff, so I'm just going to kind of not do it for a little bit and maybe bring it back later. As you see, Destiny, I'm in orbit doing my thing, and this is episode 15 called Destiny 2 Discussion. Now, I've been thinking about what they need to do with Destiny 2, and there's been a lot of people who has probably already done videos about what Destiny 2 needs, or who needs what, or who doesn't need what. And the thing about Destiny is I've been a long time player. I played the game when it came out on the 360. I bought it 2 days after it came out. I bought the expansions when I got my PS4 the first time. I bought it again, and I played, and I got the expansions, and then I got the Taken King. And of course, the Taken King was basically a soft launch reboot of the game because they fixed all the stuff that was wrong with the game in the first place. And the game, 3 years later now, is the best that the game that they so far have been able to do for us as far as is concerned. But it doesn't mean the game is perfect by any means, and I still have issues and problems with some of the things that go on with this particular game. Outside of it, and I'm not even going to get into like story stuff because the story is a wreck. It's a train wreck, okay? I don't want to have to read, 50 plus Grimoire cards to get the gist of everything. It's just so hard to believe that they are intentionally, and at this point, it's intentional. They are intentionally keeping the story vague as possible. They tell you tidbits, so they want you to go to their stupid website and read their stupid cards. Well, you know what, Bungie? Fuck your cards and your stupid Grimoire. Why don't you just give us a place in the tower to access it and be done with it, But no, you won't do that. And when I'm thinking about Destiny 2, a lot of people say what needs to happen is they need to put in, SMGs, a new type of heavy weapon, maybe a grenade launcher, something to add more to it. But you see, I don't think Bungie is going to add any new weapon types whatsoever. I don't see them doing that. And I think the reasoning behind that, to be perfectly frank with you, is because they already have this ridiculous time with people pissing and moaning about the Crucible and how, this weapon's OP, and now you've had to nerf this weapon, and now sidearms are crazy. Like, everyone in the grandma's using sidearms in the Crucible. I don't play Crucible. This is what people tell me. And Bungie only seems to listen to the people who play Crucible, which is why we had, 19 plus updates, and they're all just basically weapon updates. That's kind of what they do. And it's like that's all they care about is the fucking weapons and Crucible. I care more about the player versus environment, because to me, that is what Destiny's truly about. And it's really not about, it's just not about, the Crucible. The Crucible is, again, and everybody knows my opinion of it, it's just an opinion, so you Crucible players, chill the fuck out. It's like all you do is bitch and piss and moan until you get whatever weapons. I don't like the fact that this weapon, and I already did that whole thing, so I'm not even going to go there. But this is all about Destiny 2 and what Destiny 2 really needs. The first thing that I think Destiny does to need is to completely get rid of the RNG system in its entirety and come up with an algorithm or some kind of program that takes the existing guns in the game and do a Borderlands thing and have it randomly generated loot, right? That's just how it needs to happen. Like, you fight a boss, and let's go to one of my weapons here, for example. Let's just take this blue shotgun, the CFIT ESM. And let's say, this algorithm says, okay, it's a CFIT ESM. Now let's roll to see if it's a solar or a void. It gives you that. The rate of fire and all that is also randomly generated, and the perks are randomly generated. That's what needs to happen. It's an algorithm. It's apparently not that hard to do, because Borderlands, the entire game series, has it. Diablo has it. Two Human has it, and that was made by Silicon Knights, and you see how they turned out. And I love Two Human, but yeah, they don't know their fucking ass from their hole in the ground because of Dennis Dyak's bullshit. And yes, Dennis, you're a fucking asshole. And, yeah, I'm cussing a lot, I'm sorry. But the thing is that's what needs to happen. That's one of the big things, in my opinion, that would make Destiny that much better, because their RNG system is broken. They haven't made some improvements to where, you know, hey, the kind of detects what you're using and it drops more of that. But let's just throw this out here for a minute, because if you stop and think about it, there's only X number of hand cannons, X number of green hand cannons, X number of blue, X number of purple, X number of exotic, X number of white. That's it. So there might be 10 of each, and that's it. Now you might say, well, that's like maybe 40 plus hand cannons or auto rifles or whatever, but that's all that's there. That's it. That's it in the whole damn game. Right? At some point, I reached a point, you know, about 6 months in, not even a year, where I'm like, I have seen every weapon the game has to offer. Period. All of them. I may not use them, because I do like inspecting players and see what they've got, but generally speaking, yeah, I've seen all of them until they came out with the expansions, and now I have, you know, I can sit here and, and get new weapons I haven't seen, and then at a couple months later, hey, again, I've seen all of it again. Every auto rifle, every shotgun, every sniper rifle, all of it, you know. So, again, that's because everything that they make, they have to model themselves. That's what they do. And it's one of those situations to where I just feel like the game needs to switch to a random loot system, like a Diablo, like a Borderlands, and just come up with that. Now, it's probably not something they could probably easily do in the source code. It would not surprise me if it is something that they would have to really overhaul the source code engine, and it just, that's kind of where I'm at with it. So it wouldn't surprise me. It just, if it was something that they would be like, yeah, we can't do that. That's not possible without really overhauling it. Well, you've had X number of years where you could have done that. Same thing with the armor. Again, just randomize the loot and not make it to where you got to model 12 helmets and figure out what you want to give it. Because this is why you all have balancing issues with your weapons. Because anytime you introduce a new weapon, for example, with the perks that you decide you want to give it, right? Bungie has to go in and field test that weapon against the environment and against in Crucible, and I don't think they do that because there's been too many just straight weapon updates since the game came out 3 years later, like 19 updates later. I'm not talking about major updates, just these weapon updates, and they still have problems. I don't think they get tested. That's my personal opinion. And that's why they've had to do it so many daggone times. If they had a random system of loot, you know, somebody like I'm talking about, some people might say, well, you know, that's not going to work because, you know, then it might produce some crazy OP weapon. Yeah, but you know what? The chances of that with all the different things, yes, it may produce that stuff. It may not. And but at the same time, you can't sit there and just be like, well, you know, well, that's not fair because if somebody but it's randomized, and your loot's randomized, and my loot's randomized. Doesn't matter if I get some ultra powerful thing, because just like World of Warcraft that does the same thing, and Diablo does the same thing, and Borderlands and all that, you know, if there's a lot of those games have PvP, So, like, it's truly randomized. You don't know if that guy's going to have this crazy powerhouse, this or that. You don't know that. You hope that they don't. And that's where the even playing field would be in a crucible. You never know who's gonna have what and why. You never know what cool items they might have. That's why I think it's important to get rid of that shitty, stupid RNG system that, while improved, is still a daggone mess and still not where it needs to be. And that's just really the truth of the matter. I would much rather see them change that. That is something that Destiny 2 needs to do. Are they going to do that? Hell no, they're not going to do that. They're not going to take their time to do that. I know they won't. They won't, because to them, they feel like their system is just fine the way it is. It is unnecessary for them to change it. But you know what? They do need to change it. It's still kind of fucked in a way. It just is, right? That's the truth. And whether or not you agree with that, but it's the truth. Play Destiny long enough and you'll see what I'm talking about. Another thing they need to do is all these damn activities that they keep bringing in as like limited time events. Fuck that. They should be available all the time. Embrace the fact that this is an MMO. And I know they don't want to do that, but embrace the fact that this is truly an MMO. That's what it is. You can sit there and say it's not, but it is. It's not some stupid shared world shooter. And have the Sparrow Racing League available all the time. Have the Iron Banner available all the time. Have, like, Queen's Wrath stuff available all the time. We'll actually bring back the Queen's Wrath, Have some unique, like, Queen's Wrath, like, strikes or... Oh, I went way above the outside of the confines there. But bring it back. Just always have all your activities available, no matter what. Another thing in Destiny 2 you need to do, and a lot of people have probably been saying this for a while. I absolutely believe that you should give us some measure of control over our ships. Have some ship-based combat like they did in the new Halo. 343 Studios, who used to be part of Bungie. You need to do that. I think it would be very cool if you did that, because if you did that, then that would just add an element that we've been missing, which is how cool it would be to have some levels, a story, something to where we actually get to control our ship, like get to fly around and shoot shit, even if it's on rails. I would welcome an on rails version of that, because that's the truth of the matter. I mean, because that's what I'd rather see, an on rails version of that versus something else. Because I think that would be very, very cool. Just something simple that you can add that would bring a lot of, that would bring more to the game. That's my personal opinion, and I think it would be really cool if they did have that. And I think it would be something that would be a total boon to the game. And I wish that they would add something like that, because that to me would just change a lot of the dynamics of the game. And I don't know why they don't. See, I like that, what they added. See, that was something new they added with the Rise of Iron, which is if you do one of these, like, gold tier events, you actually get legendaries and stuff dropping. I think that's very cool. That's something that they've been needing, for a long time. And this is, like I said, Destiny 2 needs to always have all the events available, no matter what. No ifs, ands, or buts. Don't take away the Sparrow Racing League, because the Sparrow Racing League was cool. It was fun. It was just a completely different exercise. They need that. Another thing that Destiny 2 needs is side activities outside of just questing and strikes and things like that. Like stuff that you do, that's not really always shooting at something. Like just some kind of side thing where you get to do, hey, we found out that Tolan we found this old thing and we want to take it here and just make it kind of like a little side story. More interaction with the NPCs. Have it like, hey, if you join New Monarchy, there's a whole line of New Monarchy shit you got to do, like quests. Like, hey, New Monarchy's wanting us to do this. Go talk to this guy. Like I said, embrace the MMO in Destiny. Don't keep just doing what you're doing, because if they continuously give us the exact same basic game and setup, yeah, people will not buy Destiny 2. They'll buy it, but only the hardcore players are going to keep playing it. That's the truth. I mean, they're not going to, other people are going to be like, fuck this game. Like, it's the same game we've been playing. And granted, you also going to have to start opening up the solar system, buddy, or at least let us warp to another galaxy where there's other planets. I mean, the darkness is everywhere, apparently. And the Traveler is, lights return to it according to the story, this and that. But that really is what needs to happen. That is a big thing, in my opinion. And if you don't open up more of the universe and let us go to, okay, so yeah, we can't go to, let's say, Jupiter per se, because it's a gas giant, but they do have several moons we can visit that are very large, and you could easily do different things in the game, that would make for a really cool thing. Like Mercury, for example, is a planet, but you only ever visit it, when you do the Titans, get the solar Titan thing, and on a multiplayer map. Mercury was run by the Vex. Let's have that a whole nother place we can go to and patrol and do stuff. That's something, again, I feel like needs to happen. And you need to give us much more to do as far as that is concerned. Like when it gets to like exploring and doing that, because Destiny, I think needs some level of exploration. Another thing Destiny needs, because it is an RPG and a shooter at its core, in my opinion, Destiny needs dungeons. Now, I know what you mean, like, not dungeons in the strictest sense, but like, hey, there's this ship that was a derelict Cabal ship, and it was in some major battle and make it one of the big cruisers, and we have to fly out to wherever the hell it's at, and just do, and you get to get on board the ship and see what's going on with it. And make it like there's a boss at the end. Make it where it's kind of like a dungeon. You fight, creatures, and you get to the end, and you can randomize that. Maybe not the ship so much, but the creature layouts you could. That would be really cool. That would be a really cool, again, feature, that needs to happen. Another thing that needs to happen is at the places, at the tower, at the reef, and at, of course, the new Iron Lords, whatever mountain place that you could visit. You need to have where you can sign up for people who are wanting to do raids. Now, I know they didn't want to do that because they were like, hey, look, raids are hard and you kind of need to have, playing with randoms might be bad. But you know what? Everyone has played this long enough to be able to get the gist of what raids are about, right? Some people have soloed like some of the raids. Not all of them, but a couple. And my point is that if you had a place in a tower where you can say, okay, these people are looking to raid up, and you could say, hey, can you raid up? And boom, you're in a party of 6, go raid. That's something that they should consider doing. If it's going to be an interactive social space, then you need to encompass all the social activities. You could go there too and say, hey, I'm looking for a couple players who want to do like this Strike playlist or the Siva playlist or whatever. That's what Destiny 2 needs. A social space that's not just where I hit a random emote and dance. Big fucking deal. That's pointless, right? It was funny the first time I saw it when 20 Guardians were dancing, but after that, yeah, that was good for about 30 seconds. And that's what something that Destiny 2 needs is that where your social spaces are truly social, again, going back to the whole thing with MMOs where, like I was playing earlier Star Trek Online or even Neverwinter or Elder Scrolls or any other MMO, regardless of the fact that they're role play games, so is this. It's also a shooter where you can interact with one another and see like a little chat box at the top, and you can do that. Warframe does that. Warframe's a third-person action game, but it's also an MMO that does that, and they need to embrace that. It's like Bungie is, this is an MMO, and Bungie still seems hell-bent on not really wanting to fully embrace the fact that that's what they've made. But they need to, because it is that. This is an MMO. End of story. That's how it is. There's no sense in saying that it's not, because it is. And it just really pains me that Bungie, it's almost like they try not. They don't want to fall into that trapping, but it's too late. They already have. They had in year one. It's very MMO-like. And it has all those same trappings of an MMO. And it needs to then, and if that's what you are, then you need to embrace that MMO. You need to embrace those elements, or your social spaces. You can team up for strikes and raids, and you can do it right there on screen without having to go to some stupid other website to try to find people to play with. Or how about and add in that random loot generator, not an RNG system, but a random loot system, an RLS or whatever you want to call them. Have an algorithm that can spit out stuff like Diablo does and other action RPGs do that are loot based. They need to do that, and they don't do that, but they so need it. It's so definitely needed in this game to really bring some life back into it. And yes, go ahead and add SMGs. That would be a good class to put in there. Add melee weapons, outside of swords. That axe was cool. Let us have an axe. A warhammer that I can throw. Returns to you like Thor or some shit, right? How about an actual just, boom, a shield? You could, Captain America-like. Melee weapons, Another thing this game, Destiny 2, needs is more classes. Like, not just a Titan, more like introduce a melee weapon class, right? Retool the old classes and make them feel more separate from each other. I don't give a shit if the warlock taught the hunter how to blink. The hunter doesn't need to blink. The hunter should just have active camouflage, period. And, not necessarily jumping, or maybe when they jump, they phase, so like they can be invulnerable for like 10 seconds. No, because then the people in Crucible would flip out because, oh, it's not fair, they're this and that. It's like, no. Again, Bungie, you listen too damn much to the Crucible people. Those guys, they're just whining and complaining when they lose. Because nobody likes to lose in multiplayer games. Everyone loves to brag and be like, I'm a beast, and laugh and carry on and have a good time when you're winning. But when you're getting on the shit end of the stick, oh, you hate the game now. It's just such a stupid catch-22 when it comes to that. And it just wears me out. It really does. It's like, really, guys, can you just, stop listening to your Crucible people? Because they're worthless. Those guys play Crucible, and that's all they do, and all they ever do is bitch about your game. They're actually complaining about your game, but you cater to them. Who cares? I thought Destiny was supposed to be about an epic story, about discovery and the Traveler and the darkness and the Guardians and all this stuff. Well, you all obviously don't give a shit about that. Anyway, this has been episode 15 of the Gaming Roundtable. I do appreciate you coming by to have a seat with me, to talk a little bit about what I feel needs to be in Destiny 2. I went over some points there. Let me know what you think. Please subscribe to my channel. And please hit your like button, and please tell people about me. The more subscribers I get, I would really like to hit 20 subscribers, in the next couple months. I'm trying to shoot small, maybe get big later. And I do appreciate you, and we will see you next time on the next episode of Gaming Roundtable. And as always, gamers, good gaming.